Going to be another remarkable day in US politics as Donald Trump is expected to be arrested in the state of Georgia on charges of plotting to subvert the last presidential election, which he lost. Erol Morkoc is from Republicans Overseas. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's start with the debate then. What did you make of it?
The debate was glitz with of their winner. I think
I think we've got an issue there with Errol's line. I'm afraid we will have to try to reassess, re-hook up to Errol there. Yeah, lots of focus on that televised debate. 8 candidates were a part of that debate, which was hosted by Fox News. As we said, they talked about a lot of different topics and were asked also whether they, what they thought of Trump's candidacy, given the issues that he's dealing with, the injunctions, what have you, and the fact that he's going to be potentially arrested later today. Let's try and go back to Errol from Republicans Overseas. What did you make of that debate, Errol?
Well, the biggest glaring absence obviously was Mr. Trump not being there. But the takeaway was you had the rising star of Vivek Ramaswamy, who, took center stage, who, had very compelling physical and emotional appeals to the audience. You had certain individuals like Ron DeSantis, who we, have been expecting to do well, who could have performed better, but definitely had a good showing, we could say. He definitely was not the big winner of the night, but he didn't do poorly. People like Mr. Scott certainly got the conservative base pretty, core rallied up with his strong federal anti-abortion stance, which isn't going to be a general election winner. The debate ultimately was overshadowed by the lack of Mr. Trump being there and everybody trying to avoid saying his name, which ultimately, made him more center, front and present than probably at first glance it appeared. So when you look at how Vivek sort of worked the room, the attacks on him from Mr. Pence, who are saying we don't need a rookie here. Well, you kind of do. You kind of do need somebody, maybe some new blood in the political arena. So it was definitely a moment for him to really stand up. He's been climbing in the polls, and his performance and articulation was wonderful. So I think that was something that a lot of people were curious if he would rise to the moment, and if Ron DeSantis would be able to push him back down. And DeSantis, while he performed well, didn't perform well enough to sort of solidify his position as the guaranteed challenger to Mr. Trump. So that's the big takeaway here.
I mean, what is the general feeling amongst the Republican ranks about President Trump? It seems that every time he's charged, every time he is facing potential, criminal accusations against him, that his support grows. He's going to be arrested later today, we expect, and the expectation is that it'll only make him stronger again.
Well, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, right? So whenever they indict Mr. Trump, his poll numbers go up inside of the Republican Party, almost solidifying, guaranteeing that he's going to be the nominee. Now, does that mean he could win the general election is a very different question. When people kind of, would be done with him or say, okay, it's been too long, they go and they leverage effectively 700 years collective jail sentence against him, with some of these charges being akin to treason, which carry, much more even serious punishment than prison. So it starts to, bring reasonable Republicans who perhaps would have, looked another direction back towards the Trump fold. And the Democrat strategy is quite wise in the sense that they know that if the Republicans run a more vanilla candidate, they can probably win just based on how poorly the country has been run for the last few years. If you run Trump, you're going to get that 10 or 15% of the country who would never vote for Donald Trump again. So at the same time, he's galvanizing the base of the Republican Party. They're also banking that all of this, let's say negative events, such as being arrested multiple times, is going to play negatively for him in the general. But the American people love a rise, fall, and redemption story, and that's what Mr. Trump is offering them. And it's a little bit of Hollywood theatrics. And at this point, it's gotten to be such an extreme amount of criminal court cases that they start to lose their gravitas, as opposed to one very well put together case. I mean, this current one is like a RICO Act. They've got everybody's mugshot. I mean, Trump's going to use that mugshot on his campaign posters. I mean,
Remarkable.
It's going to be how it goes. So we'll see.
Interesting. Thank you so much for joining us. That's Erol Morkoc, who is from Republicans Overseas.
It was worth persevering with.